Alrighty, so version 0.854 has just been released, and that means a few things. First of all, for those of you who aren't in the Discord or are banned from the Discord, you're going to want to know what's in the update, because you probably have no idea. And second of all, it gives me an excuse to make a no-effort video that a lot of people will watch because, well, I don't know why they'll watch it, but they always watch these videos, so I guess I'll just keep making them. Anyways, I'm not gonna harp on too long about how people shouldn't watch my videos, because clearly you want to, so be it. Who am I to argue with that? So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So I'll be going from top to bottom here, and obviously the first thing on the dockets are the new skins. I could show them here, but I don't really care for skins, so if you are worried about skins, you can look elsewhere. I will show the new models though, because everyone has access to those. I think the new World Over Heaven model looks quite good. It's obviously a lot more in line with the new The World model, which makes sense. The new Purple Haze model is very similar to the old one, except for obviously with better textures, and that makes sense because it's all based off of the same source material. And finally, the new model for Magician's Red looks quite good. This is one of those stands that was in desperate need of a model update, so I'm glad it got it, because the old model was kinda crappy, no offense to whoever made it, and I like the new one. There's two new codes that have been added to the game. One of them is for a lucky arrow that's only available for 2 days. And as of recording this, I think you only have the day of to use the code. So if you haven't already used the code, I'll have both of those hopefully in the description, assuming I remember to put them there. That way you can copy paste them and you don't have to try to copy it off the screen. But unfortunately, by the time most of you have probably seen this, you've either already used the code or it's too late for you to use it. Not that it really matters, because it's just for a lucky arrow, and you'd probably get sticky fingers anyway. Moving on to things that actually matter. The visual effects for all of Silver Chariot's moves have been heavily revamped. They all look really good. I'm personally a huge fan of the toggle armor effect. I think that's my favorite out of all of them, but all the new effects look really good. So hats off to whoever did the effects. I'm not entirely sure who it is, but they did a great job. There's new visual effects for stabbing yourself with the Requiem arrow, corpse parts, and the lucky arrow. I don't have footage of those, but I imagine they're very akin to the arrow effects we have now. There's new stand auras, which I'm also not going to show. Using the rib cage and successfully using it doesn't kill you anymore, just like how the arrow doesn't kill you. This is obviously a great change and a nice quality of life addition. There's some new visual effects for extend arm, zipper glide, and zipper punch for sticky fingers. The zipper glide is pretty obviously noticeable, and the zipper punch applies zippers to your opponent, but the extend arm I couldn't really tell what the added effect was, but I'm sure it's something. King Crimson had its head model changed. Servers now tell you how long they've been active, which could be helpful if your server's lagging, because you can see how old it is and see if that's the issue. And the absolute biggest thing listed under the changes section is that the Dio's Diary quest for the World Over Heaven does not require kills in 1v1s anymore, and requires you to actually win the match. That's right. Kill trade is a thing of the past. No longer will you have 1v1 matches where you join in and people just don't play at all. No, instead, now you take one stock and they quit because they realize they can't win. I don't know if this is better or worse. I hate to be pessimistic here. I think it's gonna be worse, because what's gonna end up happening now is before, if you mess them up in one stock, they would at least think, maybe I can get a kill and then it'll count. So they'd stick around and then the match would finish. But now they just quit out after dying once because they've just given up completely. It was really funny when playing when a few people asked if I could let them win or to quit so that they could get their World Over Heaven. That's hilarious. Just do the work. Stop trying to cheat the system. But whatever. I think it should have been a good change, but whether or not it's actually a good change, only time will tell. Ideally, people play out their matches, but if they know they're gonna lose, then they're just not gonna bother. And that kind of sucks. Now we're moving on to the nerfs and buffs section, and this is where the changes actually make a difference to gameplay, and I think pretty much everything in here is good, except for a few choice things that are kind of confusing to me. The first thing on here is Last Shot for Silver Chariot no longer becomes slower upon ricochet, which I wasn't even aware happened, but I think it's probably good that it doesn't because that move was kind of bad. And it also auto aims towards the closest person after ricocheting now. I think that'll make Last Shot actually a usable move for Silver Chariot and at least make it better than it was before. So this is a good change. The next one is for Sticky Fingers, which makes it so while you have zippers on you, you take 1.25 times more damage, and the effect can't stack because if it could, it would have been broken. I think this is really good for Sticky Fingers because it means that you can actually get damage now, because obviously before you did basically nothing to people. I don't know how much of a difference it's really going to make on Sticky Fingers. I think they should just rework the whole stand, but if they're not going to rework the stand, this is definitely a way to make it less garbage. The hand's second erasure now ragdolls instead of stunning. I don't know how much of a difference this is going to make gameplay wise. If they'd applied the ragdoll to the first erasure instead of the second one, then I think that would have been good and I would have preferred that. But I did technically get what I wanted, even if it wasn't exactly that. I've had some people tell me that it acts like King Crimson's Impale in that you can't actually block when you stand up and you can still get comboed, but I don't know if this is true or not. And frankly, I didn't want to put two accounts into the same match to try it out. So whether or not that's true, I have no idea. I'm leaning towards probably not, but who knows. Next up, Spin and the World Over Heaven Spin got a massive nerf. The stun on Steel Balls, Multi-Steel Balls, Heaven Ascended Knives, and Six Pistols Prone Shot all got heavily nerfed. The Multi-Steel Balls can still combo stuff as far as I've seen, but it's not nearly as forgiving, and you actually have to land your combos and have an inkling of skill from what it seems, compared to before where you had like 30 minutes to hit people with moves after landing these. And the AoE on Heaven Ascended Knives finally has the amount of stun that it should have had from the start, which is basically nothing. Why you could confirm a bunch of things off of the AoE of this knives, I have no idea, but that's the thing of the past, and it makes fighting against the World Over Heaven a hell of a lot easier. The next one's interesting because I haven't really seen it in practice. It's the reduced hitbox linger on Zoom Punch, Eye Gouge, and Scarlet Overdrive. I think this was an attempt to patch out the King Crimson Impale cheese, but it didn't work because I still had it happen to me and I couldn't do anything about it despite holding block. Basically what this means is that the hitbox doesn't stick around for as long after the move has already been used, so it's harder to catch people when they stand up and that kind of thing, but I don't actually know how much it's been reduced. It didn't seem like enough that it stopped me from getting hit by the King Crimson cheese, so who knows. The next one is where things really lose me. They increased the cooldown on GER's counter, and I don't know how many people agree with me on this, but GER's counter is bad. Like, it's just not a good move anymore, and I don't know why they keep nerfing it. Like, don't get me wrong, GER never needed the counter, so nerfing the counter is fine because, well, it didn't need it to begin with and should never have had it, but the move itself is just kinda trash. Because of the startup, even if you try to use it to catch people with M1s, if they're fast on reaction, they'll just stop M1ing you after you activate the move because they'll see it come out and be able to react. So you can only really get it off of obvious projectiles or a hard read, and even if you do get it, most of the time you're going to be in front of the opponent and then they can just barrage you, and since you're GER, you don't really have anything that you can get off of barraging second. So usually you only get to barrage back and then get a little bit of damage. So most of the time the counter doesn't get you anything, and now it takes an eternity to come back on top of that. I don't know, it just seems kind of strange. Six Pistols ate a damage nerf on multi-shot, and you know me, so you know any nerf to Six Pistols I'm happy with. Aerosmith got a buff with an increased damage to Propeller Charge and Vola Barrage. Now does this mean I'm going to use Aerosmith? Hell no. I don't care how much more damage they give it. I have PTSD with that stand. I don't want to go anywhere near it. So hopefully they don't make it good and I have to go back and play it. We'll see. Hamon increases healing moves less. This is another one of those weird changes that I don't understand, because all this really does is make it so that if you're using Hamon, you get less healing. Basically, the way this worked before is that your Hamon punch skill would increase the amount of healing you took, but on top of that, your Hamon Hamon defense also decreased the amount of healing you got. So at the end of the day, if you healed when you had Hamon charged, you would heal less. And now, if you have Hamon charged, I'm pretty sure you heal even less than you did before. So now you get more punished if you heal while having Hamon charged. I don't know, it's just really, really strange. Maybe they didn't know that the Hamon defense also applies and made it so that you had less healing. It's just strange. Next up is that you no longer heal more from healing moves if you get hit by a Hamon user as a vampire. So no more 130 love train healing against a vampire. Not that you really had too much use for that anyway, but hey, is what it is. Seamoon got a big fat nerf with its gravitational shift finally becoming blockable. So if you are holding block and they use their AoE get free combo move, they don't get a free combo anymore. Thank God. It's still basically unreactably fast, but at least you can preemptively block, and most Seamoon users are brain dead, so they'll just throw the move out and you'll block it and you won't get screwed. So overall, I'm happy with that. Spin's skill tree costs more, which means the World Over Heaven spin is hopefully going to go down the toilet. Ideally, no more maxed out time stop the World Over Heaven spins, eating all of your health while having plenty of health for themselves. But who knows? I only have spin on one account, and I didn't check how much it actually increased because I suck, but I'm gonna choose to believe the patch notes and assume that it's increased a reasonable amount. And the next two are vampire buffs and nerfs. The biggest vampire nerf we've ever seen in history. Vampires no longer get blood HP regen buffs while posing, so you can't regen your entire health bar in an instant by posing. This is how vampires would cheese their health regen while they had like an inkling of blood left and get all their health back. And since you can't do that anymore, it's going to be a big hit to vamps. But to counterbalance that, the damage increase that you get as Hamon versus vampire was also reduced. From what I played, it looked like you still take a lot of damage. Except for some fringe cases, for the most part, I still deleted vampires with Hamon, so I don't know how much of a difference this is really gonna make, and maybe they should reduce it more, but I think we should let everything settle before any of those calls are made. And then the final things we have to talk about are the fixes. There's a reduced chance of crashing, which is always good, and some memory leaks were fixed, which means that servers that have been up for longer won't slowly become worse and worse performing. And future me here coming back, because as I'm recording this, they just updated again, but there's a new visual effect for stand barraging. They basically added a whole bunch more punches. It looks pretty cool, but there's also this screen shake effect they added to it. And I don't know, it looks like I might get motion sick from it if I see it a lot. So I'm hoping maybe we'll get a toggle for the screen shake effects, because there's some of that on Silver Chariot too. And I don't know how much I like the screen shaking constantly while I'm playing. They fixed the umbrella accessory acting as an umbrella tool item. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't know if you can punch with the umbrella out now. I have no clue. I'm assuming it was a bug fix. Whitesnake's gun while on pilot doesn't fling you anymore, which I had someone DM me about a while back, so I'm glad they fixed that. And the other stuff is just some fixes that I don't need to mention. Overall, when all things are said and done, I'm really happy with this update, and I think it's really cool that they decided to do another mostly bug fixes and skins kind of update, because I don't know, I didn't really expect that. I thought they were going to start focusing more on content again, especially after how many players were brought in when they were able to go new stand. But I guess the update coming out with the Lucky Arrow code that everyone was overhyped for makes a lot more sense. And obviously it's always funny that I'm more happy about these random bug fixes than I am about the skins or the lucky arrows or whatever. But that's just the way I am. Most of my game time is spent in a more competitive environment, so the skins and stuff, I couldn't really care less. It's the frustrating as hell cheese stuff that I run into in 1v1s that I'm always really excited when they get fixed. And I think the biggest things that helped in here were probably the stun on the World Over Heaven's knives, the overall spin nerfs because I hate that spec, and definitely Seamoon's gravitational shift, because that move is some BS, and I'm very, very glad that there's actually some counterplay now instead of just, oh, you're comboed now, oh, and you're slow, by the way. Always nice to have more control over your games instead of just getting instantly comboed and having nothing. Honestly though, the best part of this update is that there's not anything glaringly negative. I know it's strange to say that, but I always worry when these updates come out that they're gonna do some sort of game-breaking change or just make some sort of huge mistake and it will end up screwing up the game for a considerable amount of time. And from the looks of it, there's nothing even close to like that in here. It's all either quality of life or blatant things that should have happened before that just make the game easier to play and less cheesy. So I'm happy about it. Anyways, that's all I got for now, so I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe. If you didn't like it, don't do those things. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.